Hey everybody, how's it going? Travel Man Dan here, and get ready for today's episode of Reading Man Dan! Today's going to be a spectacular show. I got an amazing book for you to check out as I read you The Muffin Muncher. That's right, an old school book, so sit back, relax, and get ready for the show. Let's go! Hey, thanks for stopping by and checking out today's episode. Really appreciate the support. If you haven't already, be sure to go ahead and hit that subscribe button, ring the bell so you're notified when new episodes come out each and every week. And let's go ahead and get started with today's book. Today's going to be a fun one. As I go back and I look at all the different books to go ahead and read, and I wanted to bring back some old school books. And this one is bringing it back over 30 years. As I found it in a stack of old books, I thought it would be cool to bring it up. I think it's got a unique title. I think it's interesting. I was drawn in to go ahead and read this book right away. So today's book, we're going to be reading The Muffin Muncher. Now this book was created in 1974. It was written by Stephen Cosgrove and illustrated by Robin James. If you look at the back of the book, there's their old picture. There's Stephen and there's Robin. Pretty cool. I'll be sure to go ahead and put all their info down in the description below. Let's go ahead and start reading the story of The Muffin Muncher. The Muffin Muncher, written by Stephen Cosgrove, illustrated by Robin James. Dedicated to Phil, Norm, Gary, Byron, Eva, Idris, and most of all, Joanne and Jennifer. Without them, this book could not have been written. That's always nice. I always enjoy the author's dedication to the people in his life that helped inspire him to go ahead and create this book. Many, many years ago, in the far corner of a very poor country, stood the poorest of poor castles. Not only did the villagers of the castle lack riches and valuables, but they were poor in spirit, for they had done nothing to be proud of. Alright, so, well, there it is. We take a look at the castle. It just looks like an ordinary castle. To be honest with you, I don't really see anything poor about it. It actually kind of looks interesting. But let's read on and find out what's going on. The only way they had survived at all was by baking and selling the most delicious and delectable muffins in the land. Sounds pretty good to me. Every morning, the king, who was also the head baker, would bake a fresh batch of muffins. When he had finished and the muffins were baked and still warm from the ovens, the villagers would load their carts and set off for the other villages in the kingdom. There was never any problem in selling the muffins, since they were the finest ever baked. But because the villagers were so poor, they had to use all the money they had earned to buy more firewood and flour in order to make more muffins. Alright, well there they go. The muffins are in the back of that little cart right there, and they are off to the village to go ahead and sell them. The disconcerting thing is, well, unfortunately, the money that they made, it wasn't that much, and they had to use it to buy firewood and flour. Let's find out what happened. So, day in and day out, the head baker, who was also the king, would build up the giant fires in the ovens and bake muffins and muffins and muffins. He would slowly mix all the ingredients in a big cracked bowl, pour the batter into the muffin tins, and carefully put them in the ovens to bake. Alright, there we got the head baker, who was also the king. And look at, he's mixing away, he's putting all the flour into the cracked bowl. Then he goes ahead and stirs up and makes that delicious muffin mix, puts it in the tin, and slides it into the oven. The villagers were just barely surviving. As if things weren't bad enough for them, there appeared at the castle one day a great and monstrous dragon. Now, this was not your everyday, run-of-the-mill dragon. He was a rather enormous, slightly overweight, a muffin-munching dragon. Woo! With crumbs still on his face from the muffins he had eaten at the last castle he'd visited, the dragon came trotting down the hill right up to the drawbridge. Taking one look at the dragon, the villagers hastily ran over the drawbridge and hustled into the castle to hide. That's a good idea. Oh no, here comes a muffin-munching dragon. Look out! Check it out. There he is. The muffin-munching dragon. Heading his way up to the poorest of poor castles. And all the villagers are like, let's get out of here. Let's scram. They go hustling back into the castle and let's find out what happened. The dragon took a great long sniff. Ah, he mumbled, I smell muffins. This castle, he decided, smelled like a nice place to stay. He picked up his suitcase and moved in, right under the drawbridge. He was very tired from his long journey, so he unpacked his pillow, his pajamas, and the picture of his pony. Curled up and fell asleep. Alright, well, take a look at the dragon. Alright, smelled them delicious muffins and said, you know what? I think I'll post up here for a while. Put on his pajamas, curled up against his pillow, had his picture of his pony, and just fell asleep under the drawbridge. What are the villagers going to do? The next morning, the villagers looked out their castle windows and thought that the dragon was gone. Breathing a sigh of relief, they calmly began preparing for another day. After loading their wagons with fresh, warm muffins, they set off across the drawbridge over the soundly sleeping dragon. With all the rattling from the wagons, the dragon awoke with a shudder. He yawned once, stretched twice, and peeked over the edge to see what was going on. So, that's it, huh? Those muffins look so good, and I'm very hungry. He thought, and finally came up with a plan. Oh no! So, the villagers went ahead and they packed up all their muffins to go sell at all their villages, but then they thought the dragon was gone. No, he's not gone. He was just underneath. The dragon peeks his head up over the drawbridge and says, ah, that's what that beautiful, delicious smell is. It's those muffins. I gotta get them. And he thought about it, and he's got a plan. Let's find out what happened in this plan of this dragon. He jumped up on the drawbridge right in front of the villagers, tried to look very ferocious, and roared loudly, "Stop, or I shall burn up your drawbridge!" Then, to be just a little more convincing, he blew a little flame and puffed 3 smoke rings. "Ah, henceforth," he rumbled, "you shall each give me 10 of your most delicious muffins as you toll to cross my bridge." "But this is our drawbridge," they said. "Well, if I burn it up, it won't be anybody's drawbridge," said the dragon. The villagers thought and talked for a moment and finally agreed to give the dragon his muffins. They barely had enough money to buy firewood, let alone enough wood to build a new drawbridge. Alright, so take a look, okay? Holy cow, that dragon looks fierce, blowing fire out of its mouth and smoke rings. And, well, the villager didn't know what to do. They said, if this dragon goes ahead and burns down all of this bridge, we barely have enough money for wood to make muffins. How are we going to build a new drawbridge? Are you crazy? So, well, unfortunately, they're going to have to give in and bargain with this dragon. Let's see what happens. From then on, every wagon that crossed the drawbridge left the dragon 10 absolutely delicious muffins. With crumbs all around him, the dragon would sit there, contentedly stuffing those scrumptious muffins away. This probably would have gone on to this very day, except for one slight problem. The dragon was eating so many muffins that the villagers did not have enough to sell. Because of that, they didn't have enough money to buy firewood for ovens or even flour to bake more muffins. They would return every day with fewer and fewer supplies, until one day they all came home with nothing. Nice going, dragon. Alright, take a look. This dragon, well, he got his 10 delicious muffins. So much. Look at all those piles of crumbs that he's just scrumptiously eating away. But the unfortunate part is the 10 delicious muffins that the villagers had to give to the dragon every day. Well, that took out of their profit, and they were unable to go ahead and afford more firewood. And, well, then they came home with nothing because they weren't able to bake as many muffins as they intended to. Poor villages. The next morning, the head baker, who was also the king, could not fire up the great ovens because there was no firewood. He could not use his big cracked bowl because he had no flour or supplies to put it in to make muffins. With a heavy heart and a tear in his eye, the baker sat sadly on a pile of empty flour sacks and cried, "We have no more supplies to make muffins, and no more wood to light fires. We cannot bake any more muffins, and the dragon will burn our drawbridge down. Whatever are we to do?" Alright, take a look at the head baker, who is also the king. He is so sad. He's got nothing else left to do but sit there and be sad. Okay, he can't sell any more muffins because he's got no money for firewood, for flour. He can't go ahead and bake those muffins so he can bring them to the next village and sell them. He's doomed, man. Rock bottom. Let's find out how he gets out of this and what the dragon thinks. That very same day, the dragon woke up, brushed his teeth, combed his hair, and prepared for another day of muffin munching. He waited and waited and waited. No wagons came, no muffins came, and the dragon's stomach began to rumble, grumble, and growl. He tried eating a few of the crumbs that had dropped on the ground the day before, but that didn't satisfy his hunger. Besides, they were stale. "No muffins?" he grumbled, and his stomach rumbled and growled. "No muffins!" Finally, he decided to enter the castle and find out what had happened to all his muffins. Alright, so the dragon wakes up, brushes his teeth, combs his hair. He's all ready to go muffin munching. Unfortunately, there is no muffins. He's perturbed. So he's going to go inside and find out why there is no muffins in his hand that are going into his mouth, that are falling on the crumbs, and he can pick them up. Just what's going on, huh? Let's find out. The dragon wandered through the castle until he reached the bakery. Then he peeked inside. "Where are my muffins?" he grumbled. "I've been waiting and waiting and waiting. Where are my muffins?" Oh man, he is mad. Okay, take a look at the dragon. He's made his way to the bakery, and he is fired up, man. Super aggravated and just annoyed that there's no muffins for him to eat. The head baker, who was also the king, walked up to the dragon as bravely as he could. "Mr. Dragon," he said, "we are poor villagers living in a poor castle which has very little. Before you came, the muffins we sold barely paid for our firewood and supplies. Now that we have to give you so many muffins, we can't afford to buy enough firewood and our ovens to have no heat." That poor dragon was so very confused. He wanted some muffins because he was so hungry. But at the same time, he felt sorry for the baker and the other villagers who lived in the castle. Alright, so take a look. You have the head baker, who is also the king, stands up to that dragon and tells him, "Look, hey dragon, this is it, man. You know, before you came along, we didn't have much, but then you came along and you start asking for 10 more muffins a day. So that made little we had even more smaller. So, look, we don't have enough muffins to sell to make money, so we can put firewood in there and buy flour." I think the dragon starting to kind of understand what's going on here. Let's find out what happens. The dragon thought and thought. Finally, a great big smile crossed his face. "I have it!" he shouted. he asked the head baker, who was also the king, to call all the villagers to the castle conference so that he could tell them of his marvelous plan. The villagers happily began to cheer and shout as he finished, for surely the dragon had solved the castle's problems and his own forevermore. Yeah! Okay, dragon, look at him. He tells the head baker, who's also the king, look, go get all the villagers. I have an idea. I have a plan. I think I can figure this out and solve what is our problem. Okay, so let's find out what the dragon did and let's see how they went about solving this. Oh! Then, and for always, the dragon heated the ovens of the bakery with his mighty flame. With the extra money they saved by not having to buy firewood, the villagers could easily afford to leave a generous stack of muffins within easy reach of the muffin munching dragon. Yeah! All right. Look at the stack of muffins, all right? That was the dragon's idea. Okay, that's a great idea. Look at all those muffins. Right? The dragon breathes fire. So he was able to heat up those ovens, which then saved money for the baker. And, well, they pretty much loaded him up with so many muffins that he just sat there and just shot fire into the ovens, which went ahead and was allowed to cook the muffins. And they loaded him up with tons of muffins. That's a great idea. Look, there's also a little poem. While heating up the ovens with a lot of style and grace, the Muffin Muncher smiles a smile with crumbs upon his face. All right, I love it. And that is the end of the Muffin Muncher. Wow, what a fun and exciting book that was. I had a great time reading it, and I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you haven't already, be sure to go ahead and hit that subscribe button, ring the bell, so you're notified when new episodes come out each and every week. Go ahead, give me a like, drop me down a comment below. Let me know if you've ever read this book, what you liked about this episode, or if you can suggest another book I should read on Reading Man Dan. I'd love to hear from you. That's going to do it for us today. I hope you saw something fun and cool going on in this book, like the Muffin Munching Dragon and how he was able to go ahead and work with the villagers by helping them breathe fire into their ovens. I hope you learned something new and interesting, like what it takes to go ahead and run a muffin making business. It's not easy. You need a bunch of supplies, like wood for fire. You need flour to go ahead and cook them muffins. And well, if you're off of it a little bit, you might run into some serious supply and demand issues. But most of all, I hope you were inspired to go ahead and read this book yourself. Or maybe watch this video again. The Muffin Muncher. Although it's really old, it's still a great book, has a great lesson for kids to go ahead and cooperate with each other, and I loved what the dragon did in this book. Had a great time reading it. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Thanks again for watching. I'm Travel Man Dan, aka Reading Man Dan, and remember, it's a big world out there. Make sure you see every bit of it